Hello and welcome to Used Car Heaven, the programme that helps you get behind the wheel of your next car.
This week we're looking at four-wheel drives. We have three cars that look good, are fun to drive and more than capable of cutting it on the rough. But which one will our viewer choose? While Jon Slattery has an alternative set of off-road wheels and our car doctor Simon Hughes is back with more answers to your car's mechanical problems.
Hello, my name's Linda.
Hi, my name's Julie.
This is our Land Rover Discovery, which we're hoping to upgrade.
To pull our horse boxes at weekend.
This Japanese manufacturer has a long tradition of producing four-wheel drive estate cars. Competing with the likes of the Land Rover Freelander and Honda CR-V, this model attempts to strike a compromise between being a capable off-roader without sacrificing ride and handling on the road. But what will Linda and Julie think of Subaru's Forrester?
At the moment, you drive Discoveries at the moment?
Yes.
For your towing, so I mean, you're coming for, if you went for something like this, you're coming for something that does have that rugged four-wheel drive looks to something that is more car-like and certainly in the way that it drives as well, Linda.
Yeah, that would be a conscious choice, I think, if you did change from the traditional 4x4 which we drive to this. I think you would be doing it for a reason.
It's obviously this sits a lot lower than something like a Discovery. Does this have the ground clearance that you might need?
This feels to me like it hugs the road better.
Yeah.
It really does feel like it's hugging the road better than a Discovery.
Well, it does look lower slung. It looks lower slung all the way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I do like that being sat up.
You like the high up driving position?
I like the high up driving position and the lowness of the car. That's what would make me worry about towing in the conditions that we do have to tow in.
Launched back in 1997, the Forrester was aimed at customers who wanted a car that was great off-road but didn't make any compromises on. So the result was a car with the ground clearance of a Land Rover Freelander mixed with the underpinnings of the rally-winning Subaru Impreza, disguised as a rather normal-looking family estate.
So why buy a Subaru Forrester? Well, if you use four-wheel drive every day, the Forrester is very easy to live with as it's more car-like to drive. Plus, full-time four-wheel drive gives it enormous grip and decent handling on the road. The S-Turbo has genuine hot hatch pace and the normally aspirated 2-litre version is no slouch either. Plus, it's well made and very reliable. Now, it may not have the go-anywhere abilities of other more dedicated four-wheel drives, but it is tough enough to tackle the muddy fields that Linda and Julie will ask of it.
So what should you be paying for your Subaru Forrester? Prices start at just over £5,500 for an early GLS all-weather model, rising to just over £14,000 for an O2 plated S-Turbo. The Forrester really does hold its value very well. We recommend that Linda considers the 2002 all-wheel drive all-weather, starting at a little over £12,000. But let's find out what Linda and Julie think of the Subaru Forrester.
Well, Linda and Julie, that was the Subaru Forrester. Just sum up what you thought about that for me.
I like this car very much. It's very comfortable to drive, very easy to drive, and it's very powerful.
Bags of poke there, isn't it?
Loads of poke, it's fabulous.
But on the downside, for towing...
We didn't feel that it would have the power. You're looking at a tonne of trailer and half a tonne of horse, and you want to feel safe, and I don't think it would.
It's got the four-wheel drive, but it's probably not got the ability to tow something out of a muddy field, and the seriously muddy fields that you two go in.
Yes.
That's our major problem.
Yes, and that's a lot. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
And looking at the weather, that is going to happen more than you would like.
But as a car and as an estate as it is, it's good, isn't it? I mean, it's comfortable, it's got everything on it, it's reasonably priced.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, it's a handsome car. Yeah. It's a nice family car, perhaps for a picnic or something like that, or potholey lanes.
Yeah.
You'd feel okay in it.
So overall, nice, but not quite
suitable for what we need.
Okay, that's car number one. Let's see what we've got lined up for the girls for car number two.
Pickup trucks have never been as successful here as they are in the States. So unless you're a builder, you probably have never considered Britain's best-selling pickup. Quietly, they have become refined and comfortable, making them a more realistic choice as everyday transport. But what will Linda and Julie think of Mitsubishi's best-selling L200 double cab?
Right, girls, this is a bit different, isn't it?
Oh,
this is the big butch one for you.
Yeah.
Hey? Does this look the part or what?
Definitely.
It does, doesn't it?
Wicked. Yes.
I mean, you've got your blacked out windows, you've got your big butch wheels and your chrome bars and everything on it.
Yeah, this feels more robust, doesn't it? Than
Yeah,
the,
you really want to crunch about in this, don't you? But it's very good looking as well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Now, what about practicality side? I mean, in terms of carrying all your kit, you've got the lockable load area in the back. Is that big enough to put all your kit in the back?
We had a little talk about that, and we weren't really sure. And not only that, we've got expensive gear, and I don't think I'd be happy about putting my stuff.
About leaving your stuff in there?
Yeah, we walk away. We
Is it
go
not-
off gabbing and go and watching other competitors, and I don't think I'd be happy leaving my stuff in there.
Also, you'd have to transport your saddle flat,
Yeah,
which
and
we
the
wouldn't
saddle
like to
there,
do.
yeah,
Which we wouldn't like to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
This version of the L200 was launched back in November 2001 and has gone on to become the best-selling pickup in the UK. There are 2 engines available in the L200s, a 113 brake horsepower turbo diesel and a 3-litre V6 fitted in the Triton model. Our car may look like it's driven from the set of the next Mad Max movie, but don't worry, there are more tastefully styled versions available.
So, why should you buy a Mitsubishi L200? Well, this car has developed into a far more sophisticated vehicle than you might at first think. The L200 offers similar equipment and comfort levels to many modern saloon cars. Plus, it's got a 4-wheel drive system from the Shogun range, which means that this can go places that modern saloon cars just can't go. The L200 comes with either a single or twin cab, but we would recommend for Linda and Julie they go for a twin cab like this because of the added space and extra security.
So what should you be paying for your L200 pickup? A 2001 double cab with reasonably low mileage will set you back around £8,000. However, early, more basic models can be picked up for as little as £1,000.
Well, ladies, that's car number 2, Mitsubishi L200. You drove it, Julie. You liked it, didn't you?
Loved it. Fabulous, a wicked car. Great to look at.
Lots of power and plenty of pulling power as well to get you through those muddy fields. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah? But on the downside...
Yeah, we feel that this car doesn't have enough storage space for us. We'd have to transport our saddles flat, which we'd hate to do because it would damage them, and we don't feel as though it would be secure in the back.
It's got the lockable cover over it.
It just doesn't look secure.
Doesn't look secure to
No,
you. So the
no.
alternative, if you really like this, would be to have a hardtop on the back of it, but that might spoil it. Give you the extra carrying capacity, but
I would consider it with that on, but then I think you're taking the look away.
and the
you're
look is
losing the
great,
look,
isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
looks good in black. It looks good with the chrome and the bull bars and the big wheels and
Yeah.
the privacy glass and all that sort of stuff. At 15 grand, is this good value for money?
I'd say so, yeah.
Definitely.
And does it work as a vehicle in terms of a pickup truck that's been made look more luxurious? I mean, does it sort of work in that crossover area?
It'd work for a farmer
Who
or
wants
a
to be a bit
builder.
posh
Yeah,
and
that wants
carry
to
his
take
posh
the
kids about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he can throw his hay and straw in the back and not feel he's messing it up.
Yeah. So overall, pretty positive about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice bulky car.
Another car for them to drive in part 2 of this week's Used Car Heaven. But before that, let's see what the car doctor, Simon Hughes, is up to in this week's surgery.
Today we're looking at reasons why sometimes your steering wheel can sort of wobble about when you brake. And the main reason for that, and there are a couple of reasons, but the main reason is because we've got worn brake discs. And brake discs on cars actually work similarly to bicycle brakes. So if this disc is worn or has got a bit of a wobble on it and moves around, that's what you can feel on your steering wheel when you apply the brakes. Now you can easily test this at home with some very simple tools, in fact a biro. And with the wheel removed, you can actually place the biro on the brake caliper here, so it's very, very close to the disc, so it's just kind of just touching it. Then if you turn the disc around, you can see if the pen touches the disc. Now, if the pen intermittently touches the disc, you can then see that the brake disc is warped and therefore needs replacing. But we always fit them in pairs, so you'd put 2 on this in this case. The other reason, if it's not the brake discs that are warped, could be a worn tyre. So we'll pop it on, because what we'll do is we'll put the tyre on, spin it round and have a look. So here goes. Right, the next thing we're checking for with brake judder is to see if the actual tyre is out of shape or badly worn that's going to cause this judder. So what we do now is by looking at the tyre, we can now spin it round and see if it's got a wobble at all. And what I'm doing is I'm actually focusing on a fixed point on the ground and then looking at the edge of the tyre just to see if it is wobbling at all. If it is, then you've confirmed the fact that your tyre is causing your steering wheel to have a bit of a wobble when you brake. To confirm it, what we could do is swap the front tyres and put them on the back of the car, the back one's on the front. And then if it eliminates it, you know that that is your problem. Then you'd have to replace the tyres with some new ones. If it's not that, and it's still doing it, then the next thing we'd do is actually check for wear in the steering or suspension components. And we can do that quite easily by getting hold of the wheel and feeling for play, and you can see there's actually a bit of play in there somewhere, and possibly that way as well. But I'd say that that play that we can see there is probably the cause in this case, because the brake disc was okay and the tyre was okay. You've now diagnosed roughly the area where the problem on the car is, and if you can't fix it yourself, at least you've got an idea of what you're going to be paying for in the garage. I'll be back next week with more top tips to help you and your motoring.
So far, Linda and Julie have driven the Subaru Forrester and the Mitsubishi L200, and after the break they'll be driving this week's third and final car, plus Jon Slattery will have an alternative mud muncher to offer up. Also in part 2, we'll find out which car the girls choose, and if you're tempted by any of this week's cars, we'll be showing you what you need to look out for. Join us in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Used Car Heaven. Linda and Julie are looking for a new 4x4 to get their horses to and from muddy fields all over the country. They've already driven the Subaru Forrester and the Mitsubishi L200, but now it's time to take a look at this week's third and final car.
Launched back in 1989, this vehicle is one of the few vehicles that will tackle the school run during the week, but climb mountains at the weekend. This model comes complete with prestige, history and customer loyalty that most rival manufacturers would kill for.
Well, Linda and Julie, this is your third and final car. Now, you quite like the other two. This is familiar territory, the Discovery again, isn't it?
It certainly is. We've both got Discoveries and we both like them very much. We have used other tow cars and tried other people's, but we'll always go back to the Discovery.
How does it feel to drive, Linda, this?
It's a lot heavier than the other two vehicles that we've just been in, but again, that is good. It's slow.
Does it feel bulkier?
Yes, yeah, a lot heavier and bulkier.
What about the power on this? I mean, that Mitsubishi had quite a bit of poke. This doesn't feel to have the same sort of poke, does it really?
Not got the same acceleration,
has it?
No.
I don't think you need poke to tow. I don't think you need poke. You don't want poke.
You don't need the acceleration.
Because poke's pulling away and that's jerky.
Yeah.
You don't want anything like that. You want gentle pulling away and to feel as if you've got all four wheels on the ground.
Yeah.
And you don't want the back to drop and surge off.
Yeah.
You want it all to move off together.
Launched back in 1989, the Discovery bridges the gap between the off-road granddaddy, the Defender, and the super luxurious Range Rover in the Land Rover lineup. Far from living in the shadow of either's reputation, the Discovery has developed a desirability and customer loyalty of its own. 40% of Discovery owners will buy another one in the next few years.
So why should you buy a Discovery? Well, this big Land Rover has permanent four-wheel drive, so it's got plenty of grip both on and off-road. Yeah, it's also comfortable too, and it's got plenty of pulling power from either the turbo diesel or V8 petrol engines, so towing a horse box for this is a doddle. And then there's the practicality, because with two extra forward-facing rear seats in the back, that turns the Disco into a genuine seven-seater with real people-moving ability. And when you do finally venture off tarmac into a muddy field, you're doing so in the knowledge that you've got a vehicle with over 50 years of Land Rover off-road know-how.
The Discovery's been around a long time, so there are plenty around, ranging from under £2,000 for a 1993 3-door 2-litre MPI to over £25,000 for a 2002 turbo diesel TD5. For Linda and Julie's 15 grand, we recommend they look at a year 2000 GS model, fitted with a TD5 turbo diesel engine. Discoveries after the 1998 facelift are better to drive, and the diesel engine is a lot cheaper to run than the thirsty V8. But what will they think of the Land Rover Discovery?
Well, Linda and Julie, that was your third and final car, the Discovery. You're familiar with these and you like them, don't you?
Yeah, we're very familiar with Discoveries. We've both owned them for many, many years.
So in many ways, this is the car that ideally suits the bill for you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Ideal.
it does. It is. It's perfect for putting all your saddles, bridles, numbers, girths, dogs, people.
Now, are there any downsides to this car that you didn't like?
Linda drove it. I'm not sure about the first drive.
I wasn't happy initially with the automatic gearbox, but I was getting used to it after driving it for a while.
But you'd probably stick with the manual, I guess, would you?
I would.
I
prefer a manual.
I would, yes. For towing, for just an ordinary car, I'd love an automatic, but not for towing.
I mean, over the years, they've sort of refined it and tweaked various things on the Discovery. This is a Series 2 compared to your Series 1. Do you think there's that much difference in them?
Absolutely not.
No?
No, the inside's almost identical. The outside, they've smartened that up a lot.
Smarten it up a bit, yeah. Okay, well, we don't want your final decision just yet, but let's see what Jon Slattery has as this week's alternative car.
If you want a real four-wheel drive, experience is everything. And the Jeep Wrangler's history dates all the way back to the Second World War. They really don't make them like this any longer. In the good old days, off-roaders had a separate chassis allowing better ground clearance, giving them stonking ability off-road. Just like the name suggests, the Wrangler is an ace when the going gets really tough. 60 years worth of know-how do make a difference. In a time before sport utility vehicles, being great on-road meant you had to make compromises off-road. And it's on the tarmac that this really does show its grey hairs. It's noisy, wallowy, and you really do have to be a dedicated Jeep fan to like this. One thing the Wrangler doesn't lack is performance. This 4-litre petrol gives this bruiser near hot hatch pace, but you'll pay for it at the pump. Like most American motors, this Jeep likes to drink. There's also a smaller 2.5-litre petrol available, but economically it's not a lot better than the bigger engine, but lacks in performance. The cost of fuel, insurance, parts could make your bank manager your new worst enemy. So, why buy one? There is something incredibly nostalgic about the Jeep, a vehicle designed to go anywhere and, dare I say it, help liberate nations. This car reminds us of times when motoring was simpler, a time before microchips and mobile phones. And of course, there's the pose factor. If you can afford to run one, everyone knows you've made it. So what should you look for? Check carefully for any wheel or bodywork damage as a result of hard off-road use. Damaged or missing trim and hoods are expensive to replace. The 4-litre engine is very reliable, but gearboxes can leak oil and get noisy with age. And when it comes to the time to sell, you may struggle. There's an enthusiastic but small market for them, so finding buyers can be a bit tricky. Nowadays, it's very tricky to recommend a Jeep Wrangler unless you're going to venture away from the urban jungle into the real jungle, because that's where this really shows its true charm. So whether you want a car with a go-anywhere ability or you just want that classic four-wheel drive, this could be the one for you.
Well, Jon Slattery's alternative suggestion for this week's programme was the Jeep Wrangler. Now, what do you think of that? Do you like the idea of that?
Yeah, I like the rugged look and the
American feel
look,
to it.
yeah.
Yeah,
of the
I mean,
Jeep.
you lived in America for a bit, so you like that sort
I
of feel to it.
like that look, yeah.
What about you, Julie? How do you feel about a Jeep
I
Wrangler?
didn't think it was practical enough. There's no boot space in it at all. It's a fun-looking car, but it's just not practical.
It's probably more about fun, that sort of car, than actually,
Yes.
you know, getting out there and mud plugging, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
4 people, and that's it. Maybe a picnic basket in the back.
Yeah. So Jeep Wrangler is a bit of a no-no. Now you've driven all 3 cars. What we want you to do now is give us your final decision on which one you really like. So Linda and Julie, we've given you 3 4x4s today, 3 very different ones. We'd now like your final decision. Reverse order, what are you putting number 3, please? Would it be
The Subaru
Forrester, all-wheel drive, but not quite the pulling power that you'd want for what you need to tow?
No, great family car.
Great family car. Good looking, good on the road. Yeah, powerful.
Yeah, very.
Number 3, number 2 would be this one, would it?
That's a fabulous car. Drives
Looks
like a dream.
fantastic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
In the black with the chrome and the big wheels and everything.
Fab.
Yeah? But security at the back for getting all your kit
Not
in,
That was a
enough.
problem,
not
yeah.
quite good enough.
No.
So, here's a surprise. Number 1 would be the Land Rover Discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Brilliant car, that.
there's nothing wrong with this car for you, is there, at all?
No.
It just suits the need for everything you do.
Yeah, it's great.
And you could get T-Reg one of these, something like that, V-Reg one, newer than what you've got now,
Yeah.
a bit smarter.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
Does the job for your 15 grand.
Yeah.
Let's jump in, go for another spin.
If you've been tempted by one of this week's cars, here's what you should be looking out for. First up, it's the Discovery, and despite their rough and ready stance, there are plenty of areas to watch. Firstly, rear cross members on the chassis can rot away. If they do, they'll need replacing. Gearboxes are also known to fail, especially on the V8s. If they're noisy, they're on the way out. Generally, the Subaru Forester is a very good car. In general, there's nothing to worry about. However, crankshaft seals leak and the wheel bearings need to be checked. If the L200 is used to carry any kind of weight, you can expect to replace rear spring hanger bushes and front anti-roll bar bushes.
On this week's Used Car Heaven, Linda and Julie were looking for a new 4x4 to replace their ageing Discoveries with a budget of around £15,000. So we offered them the very good Subaru Forrester. 170 brake horsepower, turbocharged engine, cracking to drive, but I'm afraid not good enough for towing their horse boxes. Subaru number 3. Second place went to the Mitsubishi L200. This special Warrior edition with the big wheels and the chrome and the bull bars and everything just wasn't quite good enough for what they wanted. And in the end, they decided to go for the Discovery. Cracking car off-road, it will service their needs completely. If it was me, I think I'd probably go for the Subaru Forester, to be honest. That's it for this week's Used Car Heaven. Join us again next week.